All right. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Telivy MSP podcast, our first podcast. And who better to invite to our first podcast than the founders of Telivy? Would you all like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, happy to. Hey, my name is Narain. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders here at Telivy. It's been a crazy, exciting 2 years journey, and excited to also see many more years of this adventure. So pretty stoked to get along with this.
Hey everyone, I'm Vijay. I'm one of the co-founders here, and I head engineering at Telivy. I'm really excited to see where Telivy goes. So,
Awesome. Thank you all. And everybody, I'm Jeremy. I'm the host for this particular podcast. I'm actually new here. Noreen brought me in to head partnerships. So I do everything partnerships, community building, and this podcast, panels, webinars, and things like that. So now that we got the intros out of the way, first, Noreen, could you tell us about Televy, your elevator pitch? What is it?
Yeah, so basically, we help MSPs protect their clients, and we provide all the tools allowed with it. So essentially, we provide a full automated cyber risk assessment platform that exposes vulnerabilities in 5 different areas. And it reduces a bunch of operational work for the MSP and their employees internally. And best part, we show so much information that's really relevant to what's going on with changes that's happening with FTC regulations, that's happening with SOC.
Oh, yeah. Actually, could you guys tell us a little bit more about that, the FTC regulations? What's that? Is that new?
Yeah, so the FTC made a update to the safeguard rule where all financial institutions now need to protect their data secure the data that they collect from their clients in a better way and have more security provisions in place to make sure that they're following best practices. So that means running multiple cyber risk assessments on a yearly basis, doing pen testing, making sure data is encrypted at transit and at rest, doing a quick monitoring of all their apps and all the vendors that they're using on a periodic basis. Cybersecurity just in general has been drastically, our cybersecurity attacks have been drastically increasing with small businesses, and the government now is basically stepping in, starting with the financial verticals and making sure that PII information at least is being protected in a proper and safe way.
Wow, yeah, that's incredible. And it's great to have that information, now, right? And to know about it. And in fact, Noreen, Televy and our customers, our MSPs are actually ahead of the game with respect to this, right? A lot of the MSPs that we work with, they work with a lot of financial institutions, fintech companies, finance, tax. Actually, could you maybe tell us a little bit about how our customers use Televy?
Yeah, so a lot of our partners essentially lead in with risk assessments when they even engage with a new prospect. There's so much when you're going to provide any new IT services. There's just is so much inherent risk involved there, where you do need to go and essentially making a big emphasis on with more power obviously comes with more responsibility. So the more systems that you enact in place, you need to make sure on the flip side you also put the right type of protections in place as well. So that's where we're able to kind of take over the whole security aspect of it and let them know what are the vulnerabilities that they're currently facing and what type of remediation solutions that they can actually put in place. And that's part of the sales process. It's part of the remediation process. It's part of the ongoing monthly, quarterly updates process. So there just needs to be a better relationship with the IT team, with the managed service provider, and their clients who are generating all that data. And that's what we are essentially encouraging a lot of our partners to tell their clients.
Very interesting. And yeah, what I'm hearing is that, our MSP partners use Telivy to run these, automated risk assessments so that one, they can sell to new clients, right? They can highlight, hey, here are all the risks, here are all the vulnerabilities, and here's our solution, right? Here's our MSP solution. And two, to create this continuous monitoring type of service, right? For these quarterly updates that you mentioned. So my next question is for Vijay. Noreen just explained, these risk assessments and these reports. Could you tell us a little bit more about what does that mean? What does the risk assessment entail? What do I find out about my system? What vulnerabilities, as some examples? Is there a dashboard? Is there these reports? Could you tell us how Televy works, Vijay?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So a risk assessment generally consists of assessing different types of risks that you have. Like, for example, do you have like vulnerabilities? Is your data in the right places that you want it to be? Do you have your credentials exposed on the dark web? And in Telly, we've categorized it into like 5 different categories. One, network security, where we monitor your network for any vulnerabilities, and PII security, where we look at where your PII is, or if your employees have any PII data where it should not be, and application security, which consists of any applications that you host. We check if they have any vulnerabilities, and we also check if you are using applications that are not supposed to be used. For example, a third-party um, storage service that is not approved by corporate, that could pose a risk. We also track how well trained the employees are, because generally that is the weakest link in a security profile. So we have these 5 different security areas or buckets, I would like to call, and we highlight all of that in our platform. So coming to our next point on platform, we do have like multiple tools and some self-developed tools that we package together, which the end user or the MSP can install, and we start collecting data. And within 48 hours to a month, you should have information on all these different verticals in the dashboard. And we also have like a mesh layer that explains how all this information comes together and gives you like a mesh, like the name suggests, to identify where your weak spots are and where your most sensitive spots are and how well protected they are. And not only that, to make it easily understandable, we reduce the security or the security language to we call it a executive summary, and we reduce it to terms that executives understand, like a credit score or like a dollar value, the number you have, and give you like benchmarks just so you understand how good or bad you are against your peers.
Wow. It sounds like the team's really, really thought this through. And I love that the team at Televy has kept the MSP's clients in mind, right? Like you mentioned, executive summary, right? These graphs and charts, credit score, comparison against other companies. These are all things that are very easy to understand and very easy for the MSP to sell and to convey to the client why they should use that MSP.
Yeah, and I mean, to kind of go off on that, like a huge thing that we always have heard about while talking to different MSPs and even kept in mind while building this product is kind of communicating these types of security details to non-technical folks, right? So that's a huge aspect of it. We can be around here kind of be nerding out all the new vulnerabilities that come up, how does the attack surface actually increases with every time you put in a new type of technology and such. But at the end of the day, what does it really matter to the business owner of your local accounting shop, right? Or like an insurance agency? How do they really see their cyber risk evolving, and what does that mean from a dollar perspective and from cost perspective, in terms of operational charges and such. So those are what, we're trying to translate that information to and make it just easily understandable by any layperson. And that's a huge kind of undertaking in itself.
Absolutely. And this huge undertaking, and also the process that Vijay mentioned before, the 5 different categories and all the reports and results on where the vulnerabilities are, that's the full experience. When we work with NSP, that's everything that we give them. However, if you just want to try out Telivy, you could do that like in 10 minutes. There's also this external assessment that you can run. I tried it out. It was so easy. I'm not an expert on any of this by any means, but I was able to use it. Super easy to use. Just click a button and like literally almost instantaneously, I got a report. So I highly encourage that. It's telivy.com, Telivy.com. Just try it out. Create an account. It's free. Anything that you want to add to that, Noreen, in terms of trying out Telivy?
Yeah. I mean, we made the whole the one that you're essentially talking about is external assessment. We also have a full risk assessment that it's not that much more work either. You just have to deploy one agent or just install one software onto user's platform, and you get all this information about them. That's very holistic about the security posture as well. So there's always been a trade-off between how hard or easy the installation is how much data that you can find. And for us, our biggest goal have been, to try, can we do both basically? Can we decrease the level of installation friction and still provide the right type of findings, so enough findings that really make you know about your security posture as much as possible.
Very cool. And I want to get to talking about the team and the people on it. But before I get there, I do want to hear a little bit about the customers some more. So, Noreen, could you tell us maybe about some case studies of customers that we've worked with, maybe like a before and after picture, what were they doing before Telivy? How did Telivy, how did they use Telivy? How did it impact their business? Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about customers?
Yeah, I mean, so before using us, there was a lot. The amount of findings that you would get, you essentially have to deploy anywhere between 5 to 6 different tools, right? That you have to first subscribe to, pay for them, so that there's a whole management piece to it. Then you to actually do the risk assessment, you have to deploy all these agents, each tool at a time, and then go to each one of these platforms, get all that data, and then put that all into your own report or your own analysis. So it took anywhere between, I mean, it can take anywhere between close like 8 hours to even some have said 20 hours, depending on how many employees are actually there in the platform and such. And we've gotten so many user accounts kind of telling us that with us, it's been drastically dropped to less than a couple of hours. All their effort was, right? So all they had to do was just talk to the user and get all the permissions and put it onto our dashboard. And then it significantly reduced the time and how much they were actually doing this, which also meant that now they can also start scaling up their sales and marketing operations and start looking at and putting more resources into the actual client facing situations. So we had a lot of clients actually kind of talk to us about just how seamless the process has been, and how easy it has been for them, and how much just time savings that they're also getting, and at the end of the day, winning more clients and creating a more source of reputation and trust with even the existing clients as well. So we're really happy about where the platform is going.
The great thing about Telivy is it's industry agnostic, right? Running risk assessments, it's part of your MSP's sales strategy. It's part of your sort of continued maintenance and monitoring subscription strategy. It's used in finance, it's used in healthcare, it's used in military applications, all very hypercritical, security critical type of industries. So yeah, that's all I wanted to highlight. And if you go to our website, 5-star reviews from all of our customers, all these MSPs that we just listed out, and 5 stars on G2. So I think that's speaks volumes. So yeah, let's move on to our origin story. Vijay, could you tell us about the origin story of Telivy?
Yeah, definitely. I think I mean, I just don't want to start with a long ago, but years ago, I think in 2015 or 2016, Naren and I, we met at a hackathon, right? I think that was the first time we met, but we teamed up together to build, I think it was an app for college students to, um, have a buddy, like a virtual buddy. Like you can have a friend or someone that you trust have as a virtual buddy if they feel unsafe. So, uh, I mean, it was like a pretty good experience. We spent like 36 hours together, built the app. It was a lot of fun. And we stayed in touch after the hackathon, and we tried to, come up with a few ideas on where to start up. But I think 2021-ish, we decided to explore cybersecurity and cyber insurance for small businesses because they are so underserved. And we started with cyber insurance first, where we realized that access to cyber insurance is less, but we also then, as we started talking to users and talking to MSPs, they spent a lot of time trying to understand what risk they actually possess. So this risk translates to what is present in the cyber insurance application. So it was a bit shocking to us that it's hard to figure out the correct security posture, or too hard to figure out the risk that they possess. So we started building a few tools together, and we started getting good feedback from the MSP community, and then we built it into a full-fledged product and launched it early this year. That's like the origin story of Telivy. Maybe Naren, if you want.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I can maybe kind of talk about like kind of a brokerage to like this thing like transformation. But initially, like when we started out as a cyber insurance brokerage, we just collected so much data on what the carriers are asking from small businesses, and how that was evolving over time, right? Like this whole industry itself, cyber risk itself, has been fairly new, and also how we look at attacks, we measure them, has been changing so rapidly, especially in the last few years. So our original thesis was distribution needs to be more efficient with cyber insurance. So we started building coding APIs and such for the insurance industry. But we soon learned that there's a bigger problem here, which is how do you actually assess cyber risk? So there's like carriers, they were kind of asking multiple different type of questions, which to us didn't seem like the right type of questions to be asking on a form. And we also thought that like all the data in theory should be digitally captured, not manually inputted. A lot of brokers, they didn't quite understand what cyber risk is and what data is essentially we were selling. And a lot of small businesses didn't exactly know what they were buying itself, because cybersecurity is such a black box a lot of times. So we took a step back and started realizing that the kind of real opportunity here and the real problem here is kind of building a full platform that can actually assess cyber risk for multiple different use cases, right? For carriers, for managed service providers, so they know what to remediate, for enterprise risk management resources, so they can actually look at the third-party, fourth-party vendor risk. But so being able to look at cyber risk in a more insightful, visible way. So that's what we start setting out doing, and and currently we're working with managed service providers on this platform.
Interesting. Yeah, and I love that the origin story of Telivy starts with, we were an cybersecurity insurance company, cyber insurance company, and you had this problem where, in order to sell the cyber insurance, we need to prove risk, right? It's a sales tool. And if we sort of fast forward to today, MSPs selling IT services, selling cybersecurity services, they also need to prove risk, right? And run these risk assessments to help them with that sales process. So, I love, there's three ways to build a product or start a company, right? There's And it all has to do with solving problems. One is solving your own problem. Two is solving, the problem of, someone close to you, right? That you understand. Three is like solving someone else's problem that's sort of even more foreign. And I love that Televy, is number one, right? Solving your own problem. You understand the ins and outs and how to design Televy to really help with that sales process. And it all sort of shows in the executive summary and the language and the reports and the images and the graphs. Is all sort of geared towards design towards maximizing that ROI, that sale. Very interesting. So yeah, I can see that the team dynamic here. Noreen has talked a lot about the business, the sales marketing side, and the partnerships, and the product, and Vijay has talked a lot about the engineering and the implementation and the technical side of it. I want to dive a little bit into your backgrounds as well. So before Televy, this is a question for both of you. Noreen, you were at Hippo Insurance, FIBO, IBM. Vijay, you were at Google, Oracle, Caltech, and Qualcomm. Maybe looking back, same question for both of you. How do you think your experiences, your past experiences, may have led you to this point, to Televy, to what you're working on now? What are some things that you might have learned throughout your career? Whoever wants to jump on that first.
Sure, I can go first. So um, I've always been involved in one way or the other, different forms of risk management practices. So even at IBM, it was payments and risk there, but kind of building systems, engineering systems for that. And then at FIBO, we were building a work tracking tool for small businesses. But the idea was collecting all that data for general liability purposes, or to essentially brokerage a GL and block quotes. So that was a risk element aspect to it. And then Hippo obviously was an insurance company, was leading their Raider team and also their embedded distribution team. So I always have to there's a clear pattern on kind of collecting the data in a certain way and being able to use that for risk mitigation purposes, and what are some of those implications on the financial aspect of things. So I think that's one of the reasons why this project excites me so well, is because there's multiple things involved. There's the financial risk, but coming from a completely like system and a digital risk perspective. So I think that's where I think the beautiful thing about it, or the interesting thing about it, is also in the next in the next few decades, like this is going to be one of the biggest risks that basically all companies face, as more and more all our systems are going towards the cloud. We're getting more digitized now. We're using AI for building all these blogs and all that as well. So as our source of kind of digital intelligence grows more, our surface risk to that is also increased, and that is going to start showing up in our cash flows, balance sheets, based on it's going to be fine, or if it's going to be investments into cybersecurity, or if it's going to be different types of education, training into these types of things. So it's really going to change how even small businesses, medium-sized businesses in general, kind of interact with digital risk in the next couple of decades.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Vijay, how about you?
Yeah, so I was working on risk specifically at at Caltech, learning a lot about business operations risk, which was around trying to see if there's like any risk involved in the supply chain that affects a business, upstream or downstream, that could affect either your customers, that could affect either your suppliers. So I was like pretty involved in that and try to understand that it's like risk is something that is pretty hard to predict. And, if there are like a lot of upsides if you can predict or assess it. And bringing those learnings into Televy has been really, exciting and helpful. In that right now we are at the assessment stage, where we try to collect the risk and having like using my experience in machine learning, we would love to draw like more insights than what is on the surface. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. And I think one of the things that sets Televy apart is it's a great product, and that's great technology, which means that you can scale, you can automate, you can understand things and find things that we couldn't do manually before. And so yeah, I think my takeaway from all of this, from both Naren and Vijay, is like this is the perfect team for the job, right? You're industry experts in the tech world, and the security and cybersecurity world. Your experience from these tech giants and both from understanding the business and the customers, and understanding the tech stack. So yeah, I'm very proud to be part of this team. So this last part is just for me, just for fun. I did a little digging, starting with Vijay. I noticed that back in your school days, so Caltech, Master of Science, Electrical Engineering, and also Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. I hope I pronounced that right. I also noticed you did basically a shift from electrical engineering to software. I'm just curious because I feel like a lot of us, we've gone through either educational changes in majors, right? Like shifts in what we're studying, or shifts in career shifts, right? We've all had that. I'm just curious to learn about yours.
Yeah, it's been like a very insightful journey, and a little bit stressful as well. I'll be totally honest. So I mean, like any core job these days, like 60 to 70% coding, right? Even at my previous educational backgrounds, or even at my first job at Oracle, I used to work on FPGAs, which are programmable arrays. So my job was to like program gates into a device just to make sure that it works. So essentially, I was doing like 70% programming and 30% electrical engineering. And then I realized that the turnaround times were pretty huge. Takes like at least a year or 2 years for to ship a product, and the life cycle was huge. And I realized that in the software world, the release process is pretty quick, like a week or 2 weeks, or maybe even a month. But it's like interesting that you can learn more, iterate faster, and develop things quicker. So that's what made me move to software in general from hardware. But the challenges again were, you have to start, thinking as a software engineer. You have to learn the basics of it. So I just took like 6 months to start from scratch.
Oh, wow.
What is an array? What is a hash map? And then slowly build on top of it.
Wow, that's incredible. I think the moral of that story for me was you love to chase efficiency, optimization, and also it sounds like you have a love and also a knack for a talent for self-learning as well. 6 months to learn software. That's, people spend 4 years of college and then years of industry experience. Good for you. Noreen, I did a little digging as well. I think that the thing that it's two things. One that stood out to me a lot was you did a lot of internships while you were in school. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
What gives? Were you just a very proactive student, or like what motivated that? Yeah. What happened?
Oh no, it was most of them were finance internships mostly.
Uh-huh.
And I think I was one of my majors was finance in the business school itself. So they gave a lot of opportunities for interning there. And I mean, help pay the bills. It looked good on the resume. And a lot of stuff was also pretty interesting, kind of just reading, like the cash flows and balance statement, or even helping prepare some of these of some pretty global companies like Broadcom and J&J and stuff. So it was really interesting to kind of start breaking down. Like one of the things I started learning from there itself is that at the end of the day, it really does come down to cash flow statements, right? And like at the end of the day, accounting is the language of business,
Yeah, yeah.
and translate everything that we do from a marketing point of view, from like an engineering point of view, product building point of view, everything to like a dollar amount, and start seeing like where exactly the inefficiencies and efficiencies lies.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to kind of get that at like a pretty early level. So.
Very cool. Well, y'all heard it here. Nareen finds reading cash flow statements very interesting. So I'm genuinely crying laughing at that. I think that's wonderful. I also noticed, so you mentioned, started out in finance. How did you make the shift to software and tech?
So it's my goal kind of coming out of college, I always knew that I wanted to do something, like start something, from an entrepreneurial perspective. I just started up like my freshman year itself. So coming out, I wanted to really learn a lot about software and building products, and also like from the business aspect of it, from more of like a numbers point of it. Which is why I ended up kind of double majoring in computer science and finance. So that kind of gave way to a lot of future opportunities.
Oh, wow, interesting. So you've been planning on, running your own business, starting your own startup since, way back since. So yeah, I,
Oh, it's all
is it
part
what
of.
it cracked? Is it what it was all cracked up to be? Like, yeah, that sounds like you achieved your dream. You're here.
Yeah. I mean, the dream is to build an empire. It's a
Yeah,
50-year plan.
yeah. There you go.
Yeah, no,
That's
but
incredible.
super excited about the problem that we're solving now, and there's a lot of kind of huge opportunities, and huge kind of uh, problems to be solved in this space. So.
Very, very cool. So, well, we're gonna wrap up here with this last question here. Speaking of the future, I'd love to ask each of you, what is your vision of the future? Both with what we're working on now and how you wish to impact it with our work. But also, your vision for the future in general, and how you'd like to make an impact here on this world.
Second question is pretty broad.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we're going broad, right? We're going out to space as we leave this podcast.
um, so I think to your first question, where we really see this going is at the end of the day, security data essentially is being used by multiple different entities, right? So you have the data can be captured by multiple systems, but they're being used by auditors for compliance purposes. Being used by brokers and carriers for insurance purposes. Being used by IT departments and MSPs for remediation purposes. So there's multiple ways where this can go, and that's kind of what we want to do at the end of the day. Is kind of build a data repository that can be shared, like almost a marketplace of data that can be shared to multiple different stakeholders. So almost building a Zapier of security data, right? And that's kind of if you're a small business owner and you want to see kind of like your digital risk, you have one dashboard to see all that, to show your customers that information, and you can also share that pretty easily, with everyone involved. And I think that's kind of the huge opportunity here, is to be able to do that, and to make a lot of lives more problems more easier, is to kind of give that level of visibility. Yeah, I mean, to your other question, I'm still deciding.
Sure, Vijay, do you have any thoughts while Noreen's deciding?
Yeah, I also do agree with Narayan's points, but at the end of the day, there's like two problems, right? One is collection, and two is sharing. Both of them have their own problems, right? Like if how do you if you ask any two security companies or any two security professionals a simple questions on how many devices are there or how many assets are there, you get like different answers based on what metric they use. So the term security is pretty broad, and it's pretty important for small businesses. But at the same point, they do not understand what the risks are because it's too technically involved. So our goal is to make sure it's boiled down to like simple numbers that the executives can understand, but at the same time, try to make sure you collect the important risks. And for the sharing aspect, there are like multiple entities like cyber insurance that would want to know your security, to offer better premiums or to offer discounts, which is hard to do at this point because there are like multiple parties involved. And our goal is to make that simpler for all the involved parties. And yeah, to the second point, I could you rephrase it better?
Yeah. So the rephrase would be, just understanding what are your guiding principles in terms of how you approach solving problems and the impact you want to make, in your business and, hence on the world around you.
I think coming from a family of entrepreneurs, I think at least what my dad used to say is, there are two reasons why you would want to do something on your own is one, to satisfy your own itch, and two is you genuinely see a problem that you want to solve. I think unless you have both of them, it's hard to build like a successful company, or at least have like a long-standing company. So I feel like we are at that point where Naren and I, both of us, have that zeal to go forward, and at the same time, we do see a significant number of customers that we can help. So I think that keeps me driving, and I'm assuming Naren also would concur with that.
So it's always nice to kind of hear from customers, like how much of an impact that we have made, or so that definitely is what's kind of driving us to kind of keep working on this tirelessly on a daily basis. So definitely agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like it's very like I guess like my vision of the future, like the world that I would on a very like long-term basis, the world that I want to build is just like a more um, aware world, like self-aware world, and environment, and that could mean like multiple different things, right? Like having um, being aware of like of ourselves, being aware of our environment, being aware of like others, being aware of like digital risk, right? But like I think that could mean a lot of things. But at the end of the day, like I do well, one of the reasons like I love entrepreneurship and such a lot, and kind of at the stage that we are in, is like there really is no room to BS, right? Like there really is no room to like hide behind, like there's no like corporational like get like a room that we can like use, to like to like shield away from the truths and stuff. So like how do we like a lot of times you need to have like hard conversations with like ourselves about certain things. A lot of times you need to have like very thoughtful conversation with the users about are we actually solving the right type of problems, and is it actually helpful for them. So it just kind of comes to like are we that has very little BS thing that you can do, and it's nice because you get to work on things that's like important, and that's that truly helps others. So I think like just overall kind of like like working with like more subjects or like more projects that really elevate awareness on multiple different spectrums is something that really excites me.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Vijay, for your wise words and wise words from your father. Thank you, Naren, for customer obsession, no BS, and being self-aware and mindful. I think that's a principle we could take into work and our daily lives as well. So yeah, last question. Who should reach out to you, and what's the best way to contact you, to reach you?
Yeah. So you can easily go onto the Telivy.com website, create a trial account there itself to test out the platform. You'll get an email about any type of support materials, and support email that you can use to reach out to us if you need more questions. Even set up an onboarding call and such. There, I'll be more than happy to meet up with you, learn about the requirements of your business and the needs of your clients, and see how we can really help you there.
Awesome. Televy.com. Link will be in the description.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all so much. It was a pleasure speaking with you all today. And thank you for
Thank you,
listening to
Jeffrey.
the podcast. Thank you.
Yeah.